What's going on, everybody? Srojam here, and today we're going to be doing a critique on your artwork. And by your, I mean the people who responded to this tweet I sent out yesterday. In the tweet, I asked for experienced artists to reply below with their artwork. The reason I asked for experienced artists specifically is because if I were to allow beginners in the video as well, we'd likely be going over the same issues that most beginners have because they share a lot of the same traits, which in turn would seem repetitive. Maybe we'll do that for another video, I don't know. Anyways, let's just do this. Let's just get into it. All right, so we're just gonna go straight down. I'm gonna go from the replies. It's not in any order. I'm gonna do whatever Twitter shows me first. And first we have my bro, Gus. Gus is the lover of triceps, and we'll see what he's got, and we'll see what we can do about it. All right, so first we're gonna look at this this Goku Black. It's a beautiful piece. The color's great. Reminds me a lot of, I don't know, like some Nakatsuru or Toriyama with the use of the white highlights and the watercolor. I don't really have any major critiques just at first glance without taking it anywhere else, and I don't think I will for this one. It's not too in-depth, but the first thing I could see off the top of my head would be that the right eye seems much smaller than his left eye, which from a viewer standpoint kind of gives him a slanted face. But other than that, I mean, the folds are pretty. The colors are good. The back. And then we have Rex. Rex is also a buddy of mine. I watched him do some of these. So this one in particular, this is from the redraw that went on over the last week from Neko R. And this one specifically, I don't notice anything inherently bad about it. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's just stylistic preference. If I were to change anything, it would just be to make it look more like I drew it at that point. So it's not really worth critiquing in a way that would benefit the piece. This one's also great. The use of color, the ore is really pretty. The background is great. Anyways, so the only thing I could tell off the bat just by looking at it is that his left foot seems to be facing in the wrong direction, or is at least molded weird. And then I would say where his hip is, the gesture kind of got lost, the center line, and it comes back around. So it kind of gives him like a broken hip almost, or at least a weird looking torso. And the body can probably do this, but just because the body can do something doesn't mean Otaku. Okay, so Taku's another artist who's super versatile. Normally he goes for a foreshortened pinkish blue color palette and rolls with it, and it always turns out pretty well. I don't really know anything about this character or what they're from, but off the bat, I mean, he's caught my attention with the fiery explosive stuff. The colors are very versatile. I think the only thing that I could say about it is that the detail on some of the features looks a little weird. So like the hands, they kind of just look like balls at some point. Other than that, yeah, I mean, he's getting away with it. It turned out pretty good. Yeah, this one's also really good. I think that he's losing a little bit of the anatomy in the arm, just a tad, by doing this foreshortening. That's super crazy. But other than that, like the angle is good, the leg looks nice, the sword looks great, the colors are great. Yeah, there's nothing I can really say about that. Maybe it could be stylistic preference, but maybe more comp to kind of smooth over everything for like a polish would work. Yeah, man, this one's great too. Yeah, I've got like the design is great, the colors are good. Not really much I can say. Oh, I don't like that the watermark bleeds over on the white. It looks a little weird. That's just like a small little tidbit. Yeah, that's not really a complaint about the drawing. Don't do this, Taku. Listen to me. This one's also good. Yeah. At first glance, I think some of the toes look a little odd. They look very flat, while the foot looks super dynamic and like it's in motion. Not in motion, sorry. Like it's in a different kind of plane. It doesn't look like it. I don't know how to explain it. It doesn't look as flat as the toes. Like it looks like this toe is like pointing up. This toe is pointing down. Yeah. So basically, these three look good. This one looks all right, and then this one just looks like it's pointing the wrong way. But the foreshortening is great. Yeah. Overall, Taku's great. Not really much I can say. And here's neck. Again, I don't really know the character, but off first glance, it's good. Yeah, I mean, the hair is great. The hands look nice. The gesture is there. The clothes look good. The colors are nice. It's an appealing piece. There's not really much I can say negatively about some of these, but I mean, that's a good thing. If you don't have anything negative to say, then I guess they're doing the right thing. So here, this one's a little different. They did the wraps correctly. I see a lot of people draw wraps, and for some reason they'll change the direction of the curves sometimes, but it should just follow the direction the arm is. Like, pretend as if you drew an arm, or you're looking at an arm in a 3D space. The folds will match the direction the arm is going. So this one, yeah, it's good. The only thing I noticed off the bat, I think that, and it's for both of them, and this is pretty much it. I think that maybe the torso is a little too stiff. You could probably get away with dramatically changing it. If you look here, you can see that the waist is going this way and the shoulders are going this way. If you wanted to move those more at an acute angle to where they would intersect quicker, if you were to draw them out, you'll get that dramatic look. But the feet, I think the shoes, the design on the shoes is good. It's just they look like they're going the wrong way. Other than that, yeah, both of these are good. Good job. Yeah. Cage says no thanks. Fuck you, Cage. Shia says, so Jim, I love you. Please follow me back. Okay, I think I already did. Hold on. Yeah, I did. Okay, so anyways, here's his redraw. Like I said, I mentioned earlier with the Rex. Rex did his redraw and put it in here as well. Good. Anything initial? Use of black is super strong. You could probably get away with using a different color for the line art and shadows. Yeah, same with this. The colors look a little odd. And the same with this. You're very, very saturated, so your shadows are looking very dark. If that's what you were going for, it's good. Just it's a little hard on the eyes to see that much strength in the drawing. Let's look at something else he did real quick. Yeah, all these are good. Nothing I see majorly wrong with any of these. Foreshortening here is great. Expression is good. Maybe the nose direction is facing the wrong way. It should be forward, and it kind of looks like it's going that way. If you try to do that yourself, you'd realize you'd struggle a little bit doing it. Here's Iggy. Iggy is another fan artist in the community who I am mutuals with. He's a good friend. So I watched him draw this as well. Really good use of the aura. You can see that there's like a fingertip tool he used, and then lots of glows. The sparkles are pretty. The colors are nice. The hair is great. And then this one, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. A lot of the anatomy is good. It's just, I feel as though it might be a little too stiff. Like Ginyu looks shocked. His expression is good, but Goku doesn't really look like he's doing anything. He kind of looks like he's standing, like an action figure. If you were to bring the chest out more and really like play with the gesture, you could get this really dynamic like form from Goku. Just, I don't know, it's more appealing to do so. This one, oh, what the hell? Okay, so first glance, this arm is closer to us, the viewer, and this one is farther away. But you've basically stated the slant of the shoulders are going this way. So this arm looks like it's a stub arm because it kind of comes up too close. So it should actually be lower than this right arm. That's just the first thing I noticed. Other than that, everything looks well drawn. The style is good. It could use a little bit better comp, but I'm sure you'll be aware of that whenever you get to, yeah, when I go to this piece. Like, you can see the comp here is really good. I believe this is Naruto, and the hand is nice. The clothes look good. The colors are great. The highlights are good. Yeah, everything about that's great. Here's Intrigued. He says that this is the absolute worst artwork ever. I disagree with that. This is great. What are you talking about? This is like Picasso fused with me. I don't know. Here we go. Here's some diverse work. Here's Groovy. Groovy's another artist on Twitter. He draws anything from Capcom characters to Dragon Ball. Really, really great. So at first glance, I don't notice anything like terrible. Like the same could be said with most of these artists. I don't notice anything that's like super bad at all. It's just little things that add up to take away from things. So at first glance, I think that maybe the like I keep saying, the use of black in some of these, like direct black line art, you should probably steer clear of that, because your shadows are most likely never ever going to become close to black unless you're in a really dark setting. So here I would assume they're in a light setting, and seeing that this hard black everywhere is kind of off-putting. And then I guess like the comp could use some work, and maybe the hand, focus a little more on the hand, get the proportions and shapes right, see how it flows. This one's great. Yeah, this one is very similar to Taku. I just, again, like the black, there's not really any other dark colors. The black here is kind of okay because there's not too much of it, but I do try to stay clear away from it. Here is fantastic. See, so like he used black on the line art here, I believe, and since Piccolo's darkest tone is very, very dark, black is almost necessary. So I barely even notice it's black, like especially right here on the tricep on his left arm. For Goku, I don't really notice as much either. The shadows are nice tinted. It's saturated enough that I don't notice the black, so it's not really taken away from anything. I believe he said that he preferred this version. On first glance, I don't notice anything different. I could be just missing something, but they both look good. Everything that he does is pretty much stylistic, so if I disagree with something from a stylistic standpoint, then I'm not gonna complain about it because it's just how they draw it. It's not what they drew was bad. Here's Marimo. So Marimo is he's technically a fan artist, but I mean he works on productions that are could be considered pro level. So he's very good. His stuff is very polished. The line color. See, this is a good instance of it. The line color, it might be black, but since he put comp over it, the colors from the actual drawing are bleeding over it to give it like a really dark brown. And in this case, a dark blue. So I barely even notice it. He fits in the scenery. The colors are correct. The drawing is great. Like I said, it'd just be another case of me changing things that are based on my preference. This one, again, it's just like the first one. The comp's are really good. And then the colors are nice. I don't know if he necessarily fits with the background. It kind of looks like he's just slapped in there. But I believe this is Omen. And then I think the expression looks a little weird. He kind of looks evil. I don't know. It could have been what he's going for, but it still looks good. I mean, yeah, it doesn't take enough away from. Here is Noodle, dude. Noodle's fucking nuts. Noodle's next level. Like, yeah, he's honestly one of the best. And yeah, I mean, what am I supposed to say? I think that maybe if I want to nitpick, I could say that like the fingertips are like curving too much. I don't fucking know. Like, it looks great. The shadows, the hatching, everything, it all comes together. The effects, they're crazy. Same here. Yeah, Noodle's great. Look at his gesture. Look at the gesture on this form right here. You can clearly see the line of action. Yeah, and how it just bends. It's beautiful. The same could be said here. The gesture is great. Like I said, I think that he's got a fingertip issue almost, where like they're bending a little too much. You can bend the fingertip for effect, but you don't want to make it look like they're too bent, like they're almost broken. But like he's got the foreshortening right here. The effects are great. Yeah, there's nothing really negative I can say about it. This one's also great. The hair is well shaded. The form is good. I can identify where the light source is. Everything is great. The clothes, the folds on the clothes, the hatching on the arm. The only thing I could because everything is pretty much, like I said, stylistic. So if I'm changing things, it'd be changed for preference. So the only thing I can see that's like fundamentally an issue would be the knuckles. They don't really make an arch shape. They kind of go up here, and then the middle one, which is supposed to be the tallest one, is actually the shortest one. It looks shorter than the pinky to me. And then the thumb looks like it's in the wrong spot. And then here's Jordan. Jordan's also another very, very large fan artist in the community. He primarily draws Dragon Ball stuff, but I've seen him doodle in like Yu-Gi-Oh! And like various other anime stuff. But yeah, he's pretty decent. His color work is really good. So that's the first thing I noticed is the colors are nice. If I had to nitpick about things, I think that the use of detail, there might be just like too much going on for my eye to really focus on one thing. So like I noticed on the arm, for example, there's a lot of curves, and since this is a child character, you don't really need all of that. Yeah, it's just not necessary. And then like I think the structure of the faces, the Boo looks fine because Boo doesn't really have a structure. I mean, he does, but you can play with it so much that it looking wrong is really hard to do. But like Gotenks, for example, maybe this much of the underside of the nose and it pointing that way is a little too far. I might actually take this one in real quick, and we'll go over it and really break something down so you can see from my head what I see as an issue. All right, so we've got the drawing in clip, and we're gonna basically just let me show you from a fundamental point of view what you can do to kind of improve the structuring of just the face alone. I mean, obviously you can change many other things, but this doesn't look so far off. I mean, it's where he's got it is good. It's what's in it that looks odd. So let's just turn this opacity down a little more so I can actually see. So the eyebrow structure, he's got it. This is pretty much how it's drawn. You could even play with it a little more. Give me 1 sec. I'm basically going to speed draw over it, and I'll pause when something important comes up. All right, so I want to touch on this real quick. So the bridge of the nose, which is this part right here, you can faintly see it, but I'll draw it real quick. So the bridge of the nose, this part, should connect to your brow bone. It kind of comes down in this shape. If I were to draw like a skull real quick, you'll have like this, and then you have the bridge of the nose, and it kind of goes straight into the brow bone, this part right here. So if that's the case, the top of the nose should look like this, and then you have your eye here. Now with Dragon Ball, it's a little faint and you can barely see it, but I mean they still do it. Like this will cover the eye slightly. For this one in particular, the style, we don't really have to, but I mean you can still play with the shape to where it's positioned in a way that it is in the right spot. I don't know. So seeing it here and look like this, and not be lined, if you can kind of see, if I were to connect it without the line itself, you can kind of see what I mean. All right, I'm gonna go back and continue drawing on this. All right, so after messing with it for like literally like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, you can kind of see that I formed a different structure. I didn't really, I mean, a lot of the features are drawn differently, yeah, but there are key things you have to keep in mind, like the direction the nose faces and how close the eyes should be together, or how sharp they should be. And I mean, this obviously this isn't perfect. If you want to put the time in to make it perfect, I'd have to do that too. So, but just at a first glance, you can kind of see the things I've changed that kind of put it more toward a more on model approach with features that are placed in an area that are closer to what you would see in Dragon Ball, at least with Gotenks in particular. So those are kind of the things that you should keep in mind when you're drawing either yourself or for Jordan in particular. All right, and then we have another artist who I'm useless with here, but I've spoken with on various occasions. They are fantastic. I believe they're a professional, and they are actually an art teacher. And their work, it just it bleeds life, dude. The gesture, the details, everything. It's just so good. The color, the shading, everything, and you especially see it, like it really shines with female characters. Almost as if that's their like bread and butter is our female characters. Just look at the detail on just the anatomy alone, like on 18's pants here, how this chunk of skin kind of fleshes up. Like it's so like it's the little things that are just so like masterful that you don't even really notice are happening until you really sit down and look at an entire piece. The expression, like everything. I see the movement here with the handcuffs. This is an adorable piece. Like it's just the creativity. The feet are pointing the right direction. The clothes are folding well. The collars are pretty. And then, like I said, with the female characters, it's just next level, like how detailed a lot of the stuff goes. All right, and then we have Nadhir. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but he's a great artist. He reminds me a lot of really early 90s Yamamuro when he was working on that, what is it? The Android saga with Trunks and Goku. Like they were sparring real quick. Like the shape of the faces. The only thing I noticed off the bat, the color in that earring is a little too strong, and the comp could use some work. Again, the use of black as line art when the shadows don't really call for it is kind of very abrasive. It's in your face. Here it's not so bad. And then another thing, maybe the eye is just a little too high. Other than that, I think that's a trait. Yeah, it's kind of a trait that I see go back and forth with him. Sometimes he does it, sometimes he doesn't. But like, just look at how detailed and beautiful all of the form is. Like the expression is great. The shape of the hair is great. The colors are pretty. Again, I just gotta go back to the black line art. It's just a little off-putting. And then here is actually a commission. I commissioned him for this Vegeta, and it turned out great. I love it. It's super different. It's very Western, and the idea that it kind of looks like almost like a comic drawing, but it still retains that Dragon Ball effect. And then here we have another artist. I don't know how to pronounce their name exactly, but if I had to butcher it, which I'm going to, it would be I don't know how to say it. Fuck. I would be like Onyx, something like Onyx, maybe. Onyx. It's probably Onyx. Anyways, their style is it's just gorgeous. Look at the life. Look at the expressions. It reminds me of like a mix between like traditional Chinese animation with like Pixar combined. It's just gorgeous. The use of color. Look at how the hair is shaded. Everything is, oh my god, it's so good. If I could like add anything to this, I'd probably just do more subscattering, since we're looking at skin, and how light is gonna like reflect through the parts that it should, like on, let's say on the nose, for example, since that's a lot of cartilage or skin, and you'll see the blood through it. When the light shines through it and it's very thin, you're gonna get this like red effect from the light. If you were to take like a flashlight and put your finger over the light, you'll see that your finger shines red because there's blood in your finger. So maybe more of that would kind of help it. Like I see some almost like blush on Bulma, but I also see it on Goku. So maybe that's just how they draw it. That could very much be the case. This one's also gorgeous. There's nothing I can say poorly about it. This one, maybe the eyes are just a little too far apart, but other than that, yeah, it's gorgeous. The use of color is nice. Actually, maybe you could do a little bit more cool shading. Like you kind of did like a cooler shadow here, but if you did like warmer highlights with the cooler shadows, and it would kind of give it less of a muddy approach. Like if you look at the elbow, and how the shadow is kind of like a darker brown. If you would have made that like a cooler blue, and then on the other side with the highlights made it like a really warm yellow or red, it would have been a little bit easier on the eye. This one, fantastic. Poison Ivy. The hair is gorgeous. The form is gorgeous. The knowledge of anatomy is so good. The hands are like, there's nothing you can really say negatively about it. Again, yeah, great, all around great work. And speaking of Neko, Neko's the one who basically initiated the redraw of this week, which we've seen a couple of them. The two blue Gokus from Rex, and I can't remember the other artist, but we had another artist that we already looked through. So here we have, I don't know the character, maybe it's an OC. Gorgeous design. I mean, the gesture is good. I don't see anything like inherently bad. The use of shadows is great. The clothes are nice. Looks more like a sketch. It just doesn't look finished. If that's a complaint, I don't think it's a real complaint, but I don't think the intent was for it to look finished. This one's also good. I don't notice anything super bad. Maybe everything from the waist up, aside from the arms, maybe it looks a little too stiff. You could probably adjust that. You could get away with like really curving the back to really show that the object she's holding is about to get swung really hard. This one, I think that maybe the foot here looks a little odd. But everything aside from the foot, yeah, it's great. There's nothing really wrong with this. The colors are pretty. The aura is pretty. Yeah, it's really good. The only thing I noticed is just the foot, pretty much. The foot looks a little odd. All right, and then we have, oh my god. Holy shit. This is like nuts. Oh my god. How did you do this, dude? Like, what kind of shit? Did you like paint this on a canvas and then like bring it in digitally and like, I don't know, spray paint it after? I don't know. How'd you get this result, man? This is fucking crazy. This is nuts. This might actually be the best drawing in this entire set. Oh my god. The hat just sells it. It's crazy. Oh, and then this one's okay. Yeah, that's whatever. And then we have Blast Rider. I think I said that right. Yeah, it's decent. There's nothing that screams like it's bad. Maybe it's stiff. I could say that maybe it's stiff. You could use a little less detail, and really identify the form by slimming up some of these shapes. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like realism in the way that the human body kind of just looks like a fat blob. But here, he kind of looked like he has. I mean, you could get away with it. Never mind. It's not even worth bringing up. And then this, again, it looks a little stiff. like from the neck and then the arms. These kind of look like a flat plane. I think maybe the detail you're using is causing your stuff to appear a lot stiffer than it should be. Yeah, because here where you've taken out detail, this looks fine. Things I notice, yeah, that's it. I mean, yeah, I think that if you're using a lot of detail in places that's unnecessary, so it's throwing off your form. But the colors are good. Black doesn't look too bad as line art here. There's not a reason to even say it. And here we have another redraw. With this one in particular, I don't notice anything. Yeah, there's nothing substantial to even bring up. You have the direction of everything correct. Again, the black line art is a little off-putting because the shadows just don't really call for it. The hair doesn't look so bad, but like on the skin specifically, having black there right next to this white, not white, but like the first tone on the skin, it's just a little off-putting. All right, and then we have Pandora, and I talked to Pandora on a friend of mine's stream, and they are just amazing all around. There's like, I don't really have much negative I can say. If I look at this Goku at first glance, I think that the colors don't really fit with each other. Like, so here we have like a bluish skin tone, and it comes into this yellow. I guess it could match because the aura is a yellow, but seeing it fade like that's it seems muddy. And then like the iris and pupil, the colors of those kind of off put the rest of the drawing. So I almost see like a really dark black, and you just don't see that anywhere else except for in the eyes. And you'd think that with all the reflective light around him, that you would actually, that black should be almost lighter than some of the other outline. So, or at least the same color. So seeing those, they kind of just look, they're plopped in there. They don't really fit so much. This one's good. Maybe the wrist could use some work with the hand. It kind of looks like it's just broken over. Other than that, great. This one's fantastic. The use of the like shadows and highlights, it's great. Where the light is reflecting on the skin, they've got it. Especially like the crease of the eyes. It's just the little things that come together to make a portrait look more realistic, I guess you could say. And they've done it here. This is really pretty. And the same could be said here. Really pretty colors. Everything goes together. See, I don't notice that dark, almost black. I can't really tell what color it is from right here, but I don't notice as much because the eye color is very dark. It's like a brown or a red, and it just blends really nicely. Overall, really good shit. Great artist. Nothing really negative I can say about it. All right, and then we have Daft Stuff, and he is fantastic. His gesture is really good. The effects, he's really good with effects. So like here you can see the blast is good. Here you can see Sonic's electricity is great. Look at the sense of scale. Like he's mastered the back, like how he's placing the background. This one not as much, but the drawing itself is decent. It's just like the background doesn't really look like it fits. But if I have to give any criticism that I can see that is in all of them, it is definitely that. Not so much here. It fits here. That in these three, there's a lot of detail that's just unnecessary. It's actually adding more is making it work less. Kind of like if you're, what do they refer to it as, polishing. Like I'm not talking about him. I'm just in an instance where I can explain this easily. Like polishing a turd. If you have something that already doesn't work well, and you continue to polish it, the end result, like it's more than likely not gonna be what you wanted to begin with, or at least appear that way. So here I can see that. There's just a ton of detail in places that is just not necessary. The body, sure, like this is fine, but then like the hair, and then like look at all these muscle groups. Like all these could be identified with shading. You don't have to put lines there. So you could use this darkest tone here in that spot instead, rather than use the line work and then come around here where there's the most shadow in between the shoulder and the pectoral. That's fine. You can do that, but in places that it's just not necessary, like the forearm, for example, yeah, you can skip out on doing that. It's not a waste of time, but it is almost as if taking away from the piece. And then like here, it's not as big a deal. I see the spikes in the hair. Maybe he was going for a more movie approach, but I can kind of tell it's not the movie because the Sonic movie, his arms are blue. So seeing him with all this detail is kind of not jarring, but it's just, like I said, it's like unnecessary detail. You're doing more than you have to create a piece that is coherent. This one, I mean, this is like I said, all these are stylistic, but this one I don't notice it as much with. Just the background coloring just doesn't really fit with the character itself. But other than that, yeah, good stuff. I know Daff is a really good artist. And at first glance, we have the underscore questions one. If I could, like, off the bat, your features are too small for this one. The face is much smaller. The ears is much smaller. Like, if you just fix your proportions, what you have drawn is actually decent. I'm actually going to take this one real quick, and I'm going to change those really, really fast, and I'll show you what the difference it makes is. So I've got the drawing from Dude in the in clip, and I'm not going to redraw anything. I'm literally just going to change what he has and make it larger, and you'll see the difference it makes. Just the little things. So I'm just gonna select it, make it bigger, and show you what happens. All right, so without drawing anything, I added nothing to it. I just moved what he had. I like, obviously there are fundamentals that are missing here, but just by making it larger, it's already a major improvement. Being able to see all the features in a position where they should be, so that little change already improves it so much. Again, like I said, there are fundamentals that are wrong here. Like, obviously, maybe the eyes are too far apart, or the shapes of them are a little odd. It's just minor things that you can fix over time. But if I had to just change anything off the top of my head, that would be your first step, is to watch your proportions and make sure they're aligned properly. You get those correct, all you have to do is just design what's in the puzzle. Like, yeah, that's a perfect example. Think of it as a puzzle. The entire drawing is a puzzle, and you have all the pieces. Let's just say you're changing the size of the pieces. You're changing the size of your puzzle. Just make sure the puzzle is the right size, and then you can change what pieces you want to go where. So if I want to draw the eye like this, let's say I want to do it like this instead of like this. Some people will draw the eye like this. I'm getting the same expression with both eyes. Maybe this one looks a little meaner, but they're drawn differently. There are fundamentals here that are drawn differently, such as the curve here. That's been straightened. It's now straight. And then I've leaned this in more, whereas I've curved this, whereas this one kind of just goes straight down. You can draw these puzzle pieces differently if you want to. It's, do you have them in the right spot, and are they the right size? If you can get that down, you can mix and match anything you want. If you want to draw the nose like, I don't know, just the bottom of it to identify that there's shading underneath it, you could do that. If you want to draw the nose like this and draw a point and then this, you could draw it like that. If you want to do just like I don't know, like a modern Yamamuro nose, you could do this and bring it over. There's so many different ways you can draw it. It's, are they in the right spot, and are they the right size, and then you can do everything else yourself. That's basically it. All right, and then we have another artist, Easterhands. I've spoke with him on a Discord server frequently. Like I said, it's, most of this is stylistic, but there are fundamentals that I do see are odd, such as how the bicep doesn't really connect to anything, whereas it should in turn kind of just lead towards where the pec and the shoulder meet. That's the direction the bicep should go. So when I see it facing upward like this, it does look a little off-putting. It should kind of stretch back this way. The detail is good. The hatching is nice. All right, so here I think that the comp could use some work. A little more polish. Frieza looks fine. There's nothing really wrong with Frieza. Maybe his tail is bent too much. But like for Goku, for example, you've put line work here for the arm, but that's not where this muscle would belong. You put the muscle over here on the left one correctly, but it should be on the complete opposite side of the forearm. And as an addition to that, you drew the shading here. You don't really need the lines there. They're kind of useless at that point. There's not enough shadow that's going into these. Like, you've identified that shadow is not really an issue. So, for example, this part right here where the shoulder is meeting the gi, that should be pretty shadow. That's where shadow should lie the most. But for some reason, there's more line art on the forearm than there is where the actual shadow should be. So just keep in mind what you're doing with those. Other than that, yeah, these look fine. The hair is good. It's nice and flowy. I'm trying not to spend too long on each person. I want to hurry up and breeze through. Oh, and then wow, like this one's really good. Like the shapes are great. The colors are decent. It just like, it feels almost like somebody else drew it and not you. But like, who knows? I mean, that's not confirmed or anything, but it kind of looks like that. We'll see what happens more at 6. All right, so then we have Mathis, and here's a Spider-Man, and I love Spider-Man as a character. So I don't really know much about the actual art community within Spider-Man, but I can tell you a couple things that I noticed off your art. You just need to work on the gesture. I think the gesture of the piece it's not lacking, it's just almost missing. When you're lacking gesture, your form starts looking odd. So like here I can see the complete rear of his back and his glutes. And then here I can see his shoulders completely facing towards me. So his body is completely twisted. And like Spider-Man is really agile, but you got to watch what you're doing, because when you added all this detail, it kind of looks like his back is broken. And then I don't really see I can't identify any of these shapes. I just see like a long tube for the leg. Bring them in more, like sharpen up some of these edges. And then like for the calf, for example, let me take this in, because I can fix this in like literally 2 seconds. All right, so I've got the drawing in here, and to fix this in as quick as possible, the first thing I notice is the leg can come down like this, and this can come down like this. Don't worry about that. Those can both do what you've already done. But for the kneecap, you can bring that out, and then bring this in, and identify that the calf is a different shape, and then bring it in. So your straights and your curves. So just this detail alone, I can identify with my eyes, like where these shapes are. I can tell that this is the calf now, and I can tell that this is where the thigh is. Before, when you take that away, I just see this straight object that is just doing this, and I don't really see the definition that requires the definition that should be there to help the viewer be able to identify these shapes a little easier. So on this one, you did fine. Like you did this, and then you brought this up, and you brought this in. You could even bring this out more like that, and then curve this in. This one you can kind of leave the same, but when you have these shapes, so you have a straight, and then you can put all the details on the other side and how they curve. And then now my brain and the audience in general, their brain is going to be able to identify what these shapes are doing. Because before, like when you just have this tube, this like very one-dimensional tube, which doesn't really make sense because it's a 3-dimensional object, but we'll get on that later. So when you just have that shape alone, you're missing all the things that allows the viewer to be able to see. That's basically it. So hopefully that helps you. Oh, I need to go back and do Aaron's. Hold on. All right, so I actually went to Aaron's DeviantArt page and started looking through some of their stuff, and I noticed that she had a drawing that was not similar, but if you remember Neck's drawing, it had wraps on. I don't know if it was an OC, but the character had wraps on their hands, and they did it correctly. So I just noticed that off the bat that like these beginning lines on this left hand, if you take a look at this, can I zoom in even closer? On this left hand, these wraps are going the correct direction for a second, and then they kind of just go this way out of nowhere. That's unnecessary. This curve should follow the direction the arm is going. So this should start going this way rather than coming inward. Other than that, the face is nice. The colors are good. The outline's not too intense. So using black here is fine. Yeah, those are just the first things I noticed. I'm going to actually go find something else as well, so it's not just one critique. All right, so then I just stopped on this one. The first thing I noticed, of all things, the colors in the watercolor on that background, or the texture at least, I don't know if it's watercolor, they look great. They're fine. It's just the line of action almost seems missing. They seem very straightforward and stiff. The Gohan in the back, the farthest away from the camera, he looks fine. He looks like he's leaning forward, but like future Gohan, he kind of looks like he's standing straight. And even when you're standing straight, you can still allow characters to feel like they have movement in them. And then when they lack that, they kind of look like little action figures. That, and I guess, I don't know, if I'm gonna nitpick, I guess you could say like, so Gohan as a kid, but not as a kid, but Gohan is like 9 to 11 years old. The second one, his teeth, they kind of come out too long, so that kind of gives him like a denture effect, as if his teeth are fake. If you brought those up a little bit and maybe gave them more of a distinct curve that followed the mouth, it would look more like what I see in most Dragon Ball. I don't know. This is just a little nitpick. That's pretty much it. All right, now we have FTW Arts, who is also a mutual. He draws primarily Dragon Balls. More often now, he's drawing just female characters. So if I have to notice anything off the bat, I'd say the comp is kind of lacking. The colors look very washed. They don't look like they're glowing. Like the blue Goku, he does. He looks fine, but pretty much all of the other ones, not really. And then I think you have the same issue DAF is having, where you're a couple other people actually, you're over detailing things that don't require detail, and it's leaving you with a stiff looking drawing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I think that maybe working on this seems like stylistic, so I can't really comment on the style, but maybe working for more of a Dragon Ball approach to it will lend you to better results. Things like the hair kind of just looks like plastic. Like, it doesn't look like it's moving at all. There's not really a form to it. The Super Saiyan 3 does, but the other one's not really as much. This one, it doesn't really look like she fits on the background. I think, is this Kefla, or maybe it's an OC Fusion? They don't really look like they fit on the background. The background kind of looks, the colors are right, but like the background, I don't know. It just kind of looks like they're pasted in there. Maybe using black as that line art is a bad idea. And then again, the detail, I think, is taking away from it, like adding too much. Like, being accurate to anatomy is good, but when you're too accurate, you get mistakes like the collarbone being too low, or the tricep looking a little odd. The abdomen doesn't look so bad, but things like just little things like if you're over detailing all this stuff, you're more than likely going to start putting them in the wrong spot. So either you could argue that the collarbone is either in the right spot and the neck is too long, or the collarbone is in a low spot and the neck is too long. Either way, it gives the appearance that the neck is too long. You get it. This one, yeah, look at the lack of detail you've put into this, and it just looks a lot better in this, like in this area. The arms not so much, but yeah, it's just, you just got to work on the little things. And I think you've like copied your sketch over to the other side, or at least had like the line art or something. Watch what you're doing with that, 'cause like this character looks like they're supposed to be walking, but your arms are only directly parallel to one another for like if this were an animation for one frame. They only cross together at one point. Then at any other point, they're opposite to each other at some degree. So maybe bringing one of these arms forward and putting the other one back would help this appear as if it's not so stiff. Maybe they're not walking. They could just be standing. I can't really tell. All right, so I'm going to do one last one before I go. I mean, there's literally like over 100 replies. And each of them had like 4 pictures each. Some of them replied twice. I can't really cover everything. Many of them I think that are more appropriate for a separate video where I go in depth about the basic fundamentals, because a lot of these artists, I did ask for experienced artists, and I guess that's very vague. And maybe including 30 pieces was a little too low. Maybe I should have said like closer to like 100 to 200. Anyways, we'll just do AKA for last. AKA is another mutual. I watched him draw this for the most part. This is fine. There's nothing that really screams that anything is wrong. The proportions are great. The details that are there are great. Like the holes in the shirt, for example, they're great. The aura looks like it's lit up. Yeah, I don't really have anything I can say negatively about it. This one, oh, okay, I have a couple things. So the light kind of doesn't look like light. I mean, you've added like an airbrush underneath it, so it does, but it should also be lit up on the outside. So maybe using like a glow dodge or a color dodge of some kind, or add glow around the outside would help you do that. But then I also noticed that your body's almost segmented, as if it's not all one piece. And like, so the torso and the shoulders and like everything from here cut off all look like they're one piece, but then like the shoulder looks separate, the bicep looks separate, the forearm looks separate, and then the hand looks separate. It looks very action figure-y. If you were to look at the joints of an action figure, how they look like separate pieces, like you could take them off or something, it looks like that. Whereas this should all flow to be one piece. So seeing this big indent on this kind of looks a little odd. If you were to just straighten this up a little bit and then leave this side with the curves, this would all look like one piece. No pun intended. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, don't use black. That's another thing. Yeah, like the black line art, maybe a really dark brown would have served you a little better for this specific piece. But like I said, overall good. All right, so that has been the critiquing review portion. Like I said, if I didn't get to your piece or pieces, I apologize. There's just way too many. There's way too many replies. Like, there's no way I could touch through all of them. I tried to go through the first few and look through all of them, but then it was taking so much time that I didn't really want to waste all the video being, oh, this looks great, and then not really like breaking anything down. So I'm actually going to do like not necessarily a surprise, but I'm going to ask the person but like beforehand before I do it. But I'm going to redraw one of these drawings completely from scratch. Well, not from scratch. I guess I am going to be looking at the original, so I know what to do. But I'm going to pick a random person in here. I might even do like a randomizer, and I'm going to ask them if I can redraw their drawing to show you maybe the things they could have done to improve it, and then also just like, or like my take on it, I guess. I don't know. So we'll just take a look at that, see what happens. And I'll be back in like, I don't know, in your time it'll be like 2 minutes, but in my time it'll be like 2 hours. So I'll see you then. Okay, so unfortunately, I think I already mentioned it before, but I couldn't get the sketch to record. For some reason, the files were either corrupted or something, but it just didn't film what I had started doing. But I basically went over what he had already done, corrected what I thought might need changed. The original drawing was already fantastic. It wasn't. This isn't meant to be like a necessary improvement. You can prefer either of them, but I went for a more on model or closer to like official material approach. And then I did go over and polish the comp with what I prefer, or what I think looks at least more appealing. And I could have just lined over what he had already done exactly, and then just done the recalling process, which that might have been a better choice to go with. But this is basically the result I came up with. That's going to conclude the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I basically broke down and went through, I don't know, upwards of 20 different pieces by various different artists. So if you enjoyed, go ahead and drop a like, drop a comment. I don't know, share it with your friends if you want them to hear me talk about stupid shit for 50 minutes. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. All right, you guys all suck. Stop drawing. You shouldn't try anymore. It's kind of pointless.